Spark The Electric Jester 3 isn't as good as I thought it would be. Sure, I tried avoiding reviews about this game, but once in a while I stumbled on people praising this game and saying there's no point playing the second game in the franchise. For example, I noticed that this game gets praised from YouTube video titles. When videos about this game appear, then I shared videos about previous games on this series, not just YouTube recommend videos about this game. How there isn't any point in playing Spark the Electric Jester 2 is... Well, it could be a spoiler, but I spoil it. Players are saying that because this game includes all stages from the second game, is a free update, I wanted to say update to the game. Then they'd say there's no point playing the second game. However, I'm not sure about it, but I'll share more details about it later in the video. Because this video is supposed to be Spark the Electric Jester 3 review. This game still is fun, not as much as YouTube video titles and other sources I played, or what I assumed from as little info as possible that I stumbled on. Spark the Electric Jester 3 was developed and published by Viper Games. I found share other names what the deal goes by, for computers, trucks, Steam and for Nintendo Switch. And it was developed in Unity, but I guess a modified Unity engine, like Webbird made its own physics engines for Unity, or something like that from what I heard. By the way, this game is an epilepsy warning. I hope I found those clips with flashing lights. But just in case, just leave the video in the background to listen to it. Maybe I'll try adding a countdown if flashing lights are upcoming, but just in case, just listen to the video which plays in background for you. Spark couldn't get money from Shaq that he got from Dr. Armstrong that outed the events from the first game. Like the internet was cut off, and then as a punk there was a long line. And then Spark figured to try to take down Fark forces, which was made by Fark, Spark's robot look-alike. After the events of the second game. And Spark said that Fark forces are meant to deal with clarity. However, Spark doesn't believe it, which is explained by Spark itself under driving car and running through some places, and now of course platform. And the rest of the story is more or less backstories of specific characters told by the narrator. But for correct, if they say right for the events that there are cutscenes, not those where the player needs to press a button to move the text box, but actual cutscenes, where the text moves by itself. However, there isn't voice acting, or at least in English, just what I think is sound effects when characters talk. Because subtitles can be missed when including actual cutscenes without English voice acting, might not be a good idea. And yeah, I missed some stories from cutscenes, or some text from cutscenes, because something else wanted my attention while cutscene was playing, and some text went away too fast. Something like gallery or something like that from where the player could access cutscenes easily without playing specific stage should improvise situations about missing story or texts from cutscenes if English voice audio isn't possible for one reason or other. And yeah, cutscenes or anything story dialogue play every time when playing stage with said cutscene. Overall, the story is interesting, even visually well, which of course I won't share. I don't mind how it is executed, or even I like how it is executed, but I don't like similar stuff from theories about indie animations. I'll see how the animations will execute it. I am that wasn't too much to spoil this game's story. Better to be safe than sorry later. I found on the event an image of the show with very low opacity, I think, and hope only those who know this game story should know what I'm talking about. The gameplay more or less is the same as the second game, but with improvements and changes. The combat system is changed. Well, this game has two types of difficulties. One is for platforming and other is for combat. If you are playing using keyboard and mouse, then you don't need all the keys to do a Jester does and Jester does downwards, but it still is option. However, this game recommends that this game is better played with a controller in the same place as an epilepsy warning. Then there are some prompts which shows only controller buttons. But for most of the keyboards controls are shown. I still don't have a working controller, and I drag a volt need to a precise moment which will be easier than using a mouse. So I played the game with keyboard and mouse and will also to see if it was possible to keep playing game with keyboard and mouse, and thankfully it was possible to do it. The high-speed platforming is more or less the same. Well, one change to it is you stop movement if you block, maybe the other combat moves. So you can't run and block to not to get damaged by stage assets. Even still, the block doesn't block at least some stage assets, but maybe that's connected to the combat. Speaking about combat, it is different control scheme which gets changed when you get engaged into combat. Even with it, on the surface it looks like the same as Spark the combo system, but there's more to it. Like it is a combo system, like fighting game combo system, pressing specific inputs for specific attacks. However, because the control scheme is different, then you can't just dash. Attack to the enemy to get closer to it when you are engaged into the combat. Now, getting stronger attacks isn't by feeling the energy part. There's still part which is separate. I'll isn't part more, but okay, maybe can this, but anyways. There's now three third part, I guess, which increase by eating enemy, but decrease when you didn't eat the enemy. Now, about stage. Of course, there are still speed and score medals. Score medals might be easily obtainable because it doesn't seem to be a time limit for them. It doesn't seem to be there a time limit for them, but there also are exploration medals. Exploration medals aren't in all stages, and you don't need to finish a stage to keep those medals. You can quit to the main menu, which is level select or default map screen to keep those medals. However, if you quit the game from a stage, you don't keep the medals. But even with rather from the shop, it is difficult to locate medals in later stages. Different stages and different goals to finish a stage. Sure, there are just reaching the goal stages, then same but in time limit, finding enough medals, other than what I mentioned before, getting enough score, and maybe others. There are also stage color challenges, but those are more tutorial about platforming moment. There also is a training stage where you can practice combat system. However, the next area is locked for which you need to get enough freedom medals to unlock the next area. Of course, there is a shop to get upgrades for combat and platform, but also extra powers, which aren't Jester powers, for which there is only Reaper Jester or Jester powers, which I'm not sure what the difference is. Maybe longer reach. There is only Reaper Jester because there are different playable characters. But from the start of the game you play as Spark in Spark The Electric Jester 3. While there are no mechanisms to stages like begins, only like car and something like ship. Or a plane or not helicopter. It isn't helicopter. Then rail creating which is good rail switch mechanism, but for which it took time to get used to it. While running in ziplines. Also there is fall damage system. Wait when did Spark become weaker to the false I can't pronounce it. Wait, when did Spark become weaker to the false gravity? Maybe the story revelation implies why there is fall damage, but only the 4th game could confirm it, for what reason there is fall damage, and if it will be connected to this game story or not. If there will be 4th game released. Other than that, I don't like that fall damage was added just for gameplay purpose, without any story explanations in this franchise where there weren't fall damage, I think. Well, at least I don't remember fall damage in this game. Of course, this game is re-asset asset from the previous game, but which is understandable for this game. Also, the way assets were re-asset are understandable. Speaking about the previous game, this game still has problem with having options being available only from pause menu while you are in a stage. But audio balance is better, at least a little bit, but here and there some audio was silent, which I didn't bother to change. And of course the level select cursor still gets reset at starting its starting position every time reopening the game. You can get stuck into an area or get stuck to enemies, or enemies can stun lock you. Jester does, our main attack can go in the opposite directions. Well, actually everything can mess up with controls here and there. In some instances, this game and web browser were active at the same time. In one instance while playing the game, it turned out the web browser In Google Keep I was reading. In other instances the web browser was closed while I was playing the game. This probably is a spoiler, but I don't think it's a big spoiler, and it's gameplay wise. For most of the game there isn't a live system. Only in the last stage there are limited lives. After beating the final boss battle, you're not only unlock the second game stage, but also option to play no game plus. I don't think Spark the Electric Jester 2 stages, even with small changes, works, like because you can't block while running and places where hazards were on the path were removed, well, only in some places. And boss fights, even mini boss fights, were excluded. Then I think there still is a point playing the second game, unfortunately than for the story. Well, both games will say on ups and downs. So I'm not sure which game I will play more. And because of a little difference in controls for platforming, switching games constantly will be at least annoying. Getting used to one control system would mess up with controls in the other game. Anyways, about Spark 3. It still is a fun game, and you can have an enjoyable experience with it. And it is an interesting story, even with how it is told, and the problem with missing text from cutscenes. Thanks for watching all of the video. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, like the video, subscribe and comment. See you next time.